Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another crocheting video. So today's video is actually a little bit different because you will see me crocheting my first ever crop top. Not just that, I will be crocheting it without a pattern. So as you can imagine, it was quite challenging for me to do, and it took me a couple of trial and errors before I was able to come up with a top that I was satisfied with. I wanted to keep this video pretty real without making it too long, so you're going to see my process and my so-called journey into creating this top. Now, with all this being said, let's get started with the video. So for the yarn, I used 5-ply milk cotton yarn in tender pink and lilac. For the majority of the top, I used a 5mm crochet hook and a little bit of the 4mm one. Then, as usual, I also used darning needles, stitch markers, tape measure, and scissors. For the final halter top, these are its measurements for anyone who is curious. For the first two versions, I worked on the crop top starting from the bottom. And for this first version, I worked on each color separately before sewing them together once they were complete. So this purple color is basically 1/2 of the entire top. I initially had this idea of using a smaller hook first, then switching to a larger hook so that it would be tighter and hopefully wrap around the torso area much better. But when I actually got around to making it, it kind of went into my mind that it might not actually work. Because the bottom area was smaller, it would kind of be a problem when I'm going to sew the two colors together at the end, and I kind of didn't like the way that it was looking, so you guessed it, I was off to my first unraveling session. The second time I got around to doing it, I immediately started with a bigger hook. This crop top is actually inspired by this two-tone cross halter top that ITZY Yeji wore during their voltage promotions. When I saw it for the first time, it instantly clicked in my mind that I wanted to recreate it through crochet, and I thought that it was very possible that I would be able to make it, so here I am. Oh, you could also see me practicing a different grip to holding my hook here. I look so tense and stiff while crocheting like this. It honestly looks like it took me forever to finish one row, which was kind of how it felt when I was doing this. After another hour of crocheting, I finally got the base of my halter top. Then I moved on to the portion where the colors cross over. To achieve this, I was just increasing stitches on one side while decreasing stitches on the other. And after much progress, I decided to unravel the cross portion because I wasn't happy with it. Surprise, surprise, I thought about it a lot, and again, I decided to frog my work. You can almost see my face of regret as I am about to do this. You have no idea how painful it is for me to redo so much over and over again. I just thought that the overlapping piece was still too wide at the top, considering that it was arriving closer to the neck area. It was bothering me a lot, so I just redid it. The cross portion really got me. It was a hard hurdle for me to overcome, and I really struggled with making it. It took me many tries to figure out what pattern would work best. I worked on the top up until 2 a.m. that night, and I really just couldn't get it out of my head. I wanted to finish it so badly that I immediately started crocheting again when I woke up the next morning, and by then I was already working on the straps. My initial idea was to make the halter top have straps that you could tie around your neck. I thought that tying a ribbon at the back would look cute, so you can see me crocheting extra long straps for that. I was liking how the purple side turned out, so I moved on to the pink side afterwards. I thought that it would be smooth sailing from then on, since I pretty much just needed to do a mirrored version of the purple side, but I was wrong. As I was going my merry way as I crocheted, I wondered why the two sides weren't the same size even when I was doing the exact same pattern. Well, it turns out I missed a stitch at the start of the overlapping portion for the pink color. That's literally a crocheter or knitter's worst nightmare, I think, missing a stitch. So I ended up unraveling the entire portion until it led up to my missing stitch, and even when my stitch count was the same, for some reason the pink yarn built up smaller than the purple yarn, and it was also softer, while the purple yarn slightly felt rougher, even when they're both the same brand and same type of yarn. But, you know, it's just a minor detail and it didn't really affect the final outcome that much. My crocheting became smoother after figuring out the case of the missing stitch, and I was able to finish the top that same night. But after unraveling and repeating so many times in less than 24 hours, it really took out so much of my energy and it really drained me. I felt like I was just finishing the top for the sake of finishing it and was not actually enjoying the process anymore. I also wasn't very satisfied with how the top was turning out, because there were so many mistakes here and there, and it just didn't end up how I expected it to be, which all in all made me feel very unmotivated and a little hopeless. At that moment, I really thought that this halter top would just be a flop and I would end up with an unsuccessful piece. But after I sewed together the front and the back of the two colors and tried the top on, I saw the potential that it had. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad either. It looks pretty good from afar, but you could really see the mistakes from up close. There were flaws and it wasn't quite what I expected it to be, but seeing that there's a good chance that I can improve it, it boosted my motivation and made me want to continue and not give up on it. I also think that I was just really tired from pretty much crocheting non-stop throughout the weekend, which is why my mind was kind of fried that night. After a few days of rest while waiting for my new yarn to arrive, I continued to work on the halter top once more. This time, I tried to approach it differently and kept in mind the different aspects I wanted to improve from my first version. I wanted to fix the crossover area of the top, and I wanted to find a way to make it fit the torso area better and actually hug the body in a flattering way, instead of having the top just sit there and do nothing. For the second version, I tried to crochet the base of the two colors simultaneously instead of making them in separate pieces. Also, you can see me and my cousin having a little crochet and embroidery session. I drew a design for her on a random tote bag that she found in her house. If you're wondering about the finished embroidery, I can't really answer that because she hasn't finished it yet. Before I forget to mention, I'm just using half double crochets throughout this top, even for the first version. So I made a similar rectangular base for the bottom of the crop top. When I was satisfied with it, I then started making the cross portion. Because I already had a little bit of experience from the first version, I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to achieve and how I can achieve it. But since there were improvements I wanted to make, I still had to maneuver my way quite a lot and still encountered several issues. Alright, so here's what I have so far. Please ignore the tails that I have. So this is like the part where the top is going to cross over, and I'm really hoping that I'm doing this correctly, or if like my guesses are correct, because I really don't want to repeat this already after repeating the first top so many times. So I'm really hoping this goes well, and I'm just gonna keep doing decreases here and increases on this side so that it becomes narrower at the top, and then hopefully it sits right at the neck portion. So as I worked on more rows, I have encountered some issues that I'm very much bothered about. So the first thing is the decrease on this side. It's like pulling and making this part curved upwards, and I don't really like that. I think it's because I'm only chaining one between each row, so I think that's like pulling it all upwards and making it like tighter. And I think this is supposed to like start a little bit closer to like the chest area, because this is like somewhere near the back. I don't know. I'm really tempted to pull this out, and I think I will unravel the entire cross part and then like try to do it again. After I made progress, it got me thinking again that what I made was not enough. The slope that the cross portion had as it reached the neck area was not becoming as narrow as I needed it to be. So yes, I unraveled it all again. I think at some point I even felt bad for the yarn because I kept having to unravel it, then reuse it again. Finally, I was able to finish one side of the halter top. I then moved on to the other side with fewer problems. As I was making the second version, I realized that I made the torso area too small. Since it wouldn't fit, I considered making a lace-up back so that it would be adjustable while having the straps at the neck area permanently connected together instead of a tie top, so that the design of ribbons wouldn't clash. But when I was testing out this idea for the straps, I just couldn't get the size right. It would be too loose since I was afraid of making it too tight. So I decided to stick to the original plan of making a tie top and made up a different solution for the miscalculated torso area. Going back to the idea of using a smaller hook to achieve tighter stitches, I intentionally made the top a little shorter so that I could add extra rows at the bottom with a smaller hook in hopes of getting a more cinched result that would better hug the body once you wear it. I actually thought it would work somehow, but because I was working upside down from the original direction, it didn't turn out as what I hoped for. Deciding that it was fine for now since this version is pretty much another sample, I then fixed the problem of the top being too small. I decided to add extra rows at the back using half double crochet back loops only so that it would end up with a ribbed effect and hopefully act as a sort of garter that would stretch and pull the top so that it would fit better once worn. But even with all these solutions and adjustments, I was still not satisfied with how the halter top was coming together. So here's the newest version of the top that I made. I'm pretty satisfied with how it crosses over when you wear it. The one thing that I don't like about it is still the way that it fits the body because it doesn't fit as nicely as I wanted it to. It kind of just sits there and doesn't give your body much shape. I also added these rows at the bottom with a smaller hook to see if it kind of cinches at the bottom, but it didn't really work out nicely, and you could see the division that it made, which I don't like as well. And at the back, I unintentionally made the top too small, so I decided to add these, which I don't think looks too bad. It kind of adds a design element to it, but then again, I kind of want to perfect the top and find a way on how I can make it actually sit nicely on whatever body type that you have. Those are some things that I want to improve. So this time I'm going to approach the top differently. I decided to entirely unravel the first top that I made so that I can make a new version without wasting too much yarn. And from the 5 tubs of unraveled yarn that I had, I already have this new version that I have been working on. It's a ribbed version, which is instead of going horizontally in rows, I'm making the rows vertical this time. So when you wear it, the design goes vertically, so it's a ribbed top. I'm going to see how that goes and how I can make it cross over, but yeah. The first version I made became my prototype, but now that I made a second and improved version, I was willing to unravel the first one and put it into better use with this third version of the top. So this time, I went with an entirely different approach by using a rib stitch instead. And spoiler alert, this would be the final version that I created. So knowing that the rib stitches are stretchy, I thought that if I were to use this stitch, making the crop top slightly smaller would give me a good stretch once the top is worn so that it would be more body fitting. I searched up different rib stitches online and found this type of rib pattern which uses alternating rows of half double crochets and slip stitches all in the back loops only. Before ever starting on this halter top, I actually considered going for the ribbed method. I had already thought about making it before, but I just didn't push through with it until this third try. Imagine if I had gone with a ribbed pattern from the start, then I probably wouldn't have to go through so many struggles. I don't know. Well, I guess third time is a charm. But even when I say this, I still encountered many speed bumps. Again, the overlapping portion became one of my main issues. Because I wasn't satisfied with the way the slant of the cross area was forming, I had to constantly unravel and repeat it. So here's what I have so far. I have kind of finished the base of the top already. This is where it will sit on my body, and this is where the cross will start to come in. I just haven't done it yet. I pinned the center with stitch markers and tried it on. I honestly think the fit that it has is already pretty good. Because it is ribbed, it kind of hugs the body a lot better than the first few versions that I made. But I think I will add 1 or 2 more rows on each color so that it has a little bit more room to stretch and not overstretch, if that makes sense. Aside from that, I'm not really satisfied with the way this is going upwards. I think it needs to be a little bit more slanted. So what I did for this is I increased on 2 rows and then no increase, then increase on 2 rows and then no increase alternately to make this slanted, but I think it's kind of lacking. So instead of doing that kind of pattern, I'm going to increase on each row so that it's going to be more slanted. So I think to perfect that, I'm going to do the painful thing and just unravel this this entire front piece, or the front portion of this top, so that I could fix the slanted portion. It's very painful for me to say it, but again, I kind of want to make this top as good as I can. So I think I'm going to do that. And yeah, I'll be back with another update once I have one. Believe it or not, I really did unravel the front portion of the top that I already made. This is literally my perfectionist self at its peak. Okay, so I have just finished the purple side of the front portion, and I'm liking the slant much better now after I fixed it. I also added the 2 extra rows so that it would not be as stretched out once you wear it, and I think it's looking better. So now I have to unravel the pink side and redo that as well. Actually, before unraveling the pink side, I went ahead and crocheted the cross portion of the purple side first. Okay, so I'm back with another update. I have finished like the cross portion on the purple color, and I think it's turning out really nicely. If you were to wear it, it's going to look like this. Like I would sew it like right in the center. Like just imagine that it's all sewn together. I think it's looking really good, to be honest. I just hope it would look good when it's actually like sewn together, you know? And I hope it won't be too tight on the neck, and I hope it would just like sit nicely. But yeah, that's the update. Now I have to unravel the front part for the pink and do the exact same thing as what I did on the purple side. Looking good. I hope this version would work out nicely once everything is done. When I had perfected it, I proceeded with the pink side, finally in peace with less problems, and I was able to finish it in no time. Okay, so I finally finished the straps of the top. I just pinned these in place for now because I haven't sewed it in, which is why it's kind of looking a little wonky. But aside from that, I finished these straps, and I actually added 2 buttons here. I was originally going to sew them together like this, like permanently, but when I tried it on, it couldn't really fit over my head. So this is the method that I went for. I added 2 buttons and a buttonhole on this strap so that when you're gonna wear it, you could like slide the button through and you'd be able to wear it with no problem. I added another button in case it's too loose, and in case you want it tighter, then you have another option like that. When I tried it on, I think it's actually looking really good. So the last thing I need to do is to sew the seam here. I'm still debating whether I want to add like a final row of like single crochets around just to give it that cleaner finish, but I'm still thinking about it. I honestly think it looks pretty okay without it, like just as it is, but I don't know. I'm still deciding about that. Eventually, I did do that final row of single crochets to finish off the top. But first, I sewed together the front of the top as you see me doing here. So yeah, as we're pretty much at the end of this video, I hope you guys enjoyed watching a huge chunk of my process in making this top. For fellow crochet artists out there, or maybe even the knitters as well, I hope you guys resonated with the struggles of frogging our project literally every 10 seconds just for us to redo it and then frog them again. I hope you guys learned a thing or two from what I had gone through. This top took me 3 tries to complete, but I'm sure other artists may have gone through much more than that. Not only does it take skills, but it definitely takes a lot of brain power as well to come up with a pattern or simply finishing a project. And I hope that I was able to give you guys a little glimpse on that aspect of crocheting. So here is the final cross halter top. If you know me personally, or if you've noticed in my previous videos, you know that I normally wear t-shirts and I don't wear crop tops on a daily basis. So wearing this is definitely out of my comfort zone. But anyways, the end result was way different from what I had originally planned. But you know, not everything goes as planned, and I guess that's what keeps us learning more. Wow, I just got very sentimental right there. Well, I guess that's all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye guys!